Hello and welcome to another episode of Second Wind. This episode we're doing Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith. So let's get this game out, let's get it in, and let's give it a go. Star Wars Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith is an official expansion for the 1997 FPS Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight. The visuals and the gameplay are largely identical to Jedi Knight, but there are a few differences, including the addition of sweet Quake 2 style coloured lighting. You start the game controlling Kyle Katarn 5 years after, but still deeply affected by the events of Jedi Knight. In the intervening years, the remnants of the old Empire have continued to plague the New Republic, and in the opening sequence, Kyle is helping to protect a New Republic base which is under Stormtrooper attack. During the Imperial attack, Kyle learns about a planet called Dromund Kaas, which is somehow significant to the Imperial remnant. So Kyle takes himself off to investigate this Dromund Kaas, and in his place he appoints his ward, a young Jedi by the name of Mara Jade. Yeah, that's right, Mara Jade. This is the first and only game where Mara Jade is the lead role. The Star Wars Expanded Universe was well established in 1998, and LucasArts borrowed liberally from the existing continuity to tell a story that would appeal to Star Wars fans. Mara first appears in the Tim Zahn novel Heir to the Empire, where she's introduced as an agent of the dark side, but she's brought over to the light by Luke Skywalker. This ends up being significant to the plot of Mysteries of the Sith, and in my opinion this is just a really cool thing for LucasArts to have done, to take a character from the video games and to pair him up with a character from the novels. Other elements of the EU are also used to ground this game in the Star Wars universe. Even better, Dromund Kaas actually becomes a significant part of Star Wars The Old Republic much later on, and that just helps to cement all these games together into one big web. I just want to take a second here to just point out that Mysteries of the Sith was an expansion to Jedi Knight 2. Now in the 90s, our equivalent to DLC was expansions. Unlike DLC, expansions came on a disc, they came in a retail box, and they had a physical manual. They were almost like whole games in themselves, apart from they were significantly cheaper than the original game. Cramming in all this detail and putting in all this effort into what basically amounts to just old school DLC, it's a testament to that from-the-heart attitude that pervaded LucasArts in the 90s. In a similar fashion to the previous Jedi Knight, Mara Jade travels to exotic, faraway locations, she meets interesting aliens, and she shoots the shit out of them. At first, Mara is just undertaking missions for the Republic, and honestly, this part of the story is a bit crap. It's just a jumble sale of different ideas all crammed into one game. It takes about 75% of the game before even the title starts to make any sense. The final act though really picks up the pace, with Mara travelling to Dromund Kaas in search of her master who hasn't been heard from since the first act. Bosses in this game are actually worse than the previous, cramped into tiny locations with barely enough room to manoeuvre, but the game's final showdown is a brilliant showcase of the game's mechanics versus storytelling. Mara has her awesome purple lightsaber from the get-go, and she starts the game with a few basic force powers. What sets Mysteries of the Sith apart though is that there's some level design and some puzzle solving which specifically requires you to use the force powers, and that made the game far more enjoyable for me. Mechanically though, Mara Jade is much weaker than her master. Her force powers are weaker, they take longer to charge up, and you'll need to be really specific when you choose your upgrades, because Mara will only be able to take about half of the available force powers over the course of the game. Now of course Mara is a lot younger and less experienced than Kyle, and I liked that because it made the game experience different. As is customary now with this series, the levels in Mysteries of the Sith are absolutely massive, with no clear path from A to B. 90s games could be fairly opaque when it came to level design, which is both a blessing and a curse. It encourages you to explore each level, with each map being littered with secret areas and sometimes alternate paths to your destination. It's a curse when compared to more modern games, which hold your hand a lot more, right up to the point of showing you the direction in which you need to travel. In previous reviews, I made this level design method sound like a flaw, but now I've got a few of these games under my belt, I think I actually prefer this way of doing things. It's less obvious, it makes me engage my brain a bit more, and arguably it's a bit more realistic. You know, there's no dotted white line in real life, and I feel more connected to Mara now, as if we're both exploring each location for the first time. Even on the later stages, which are infuriatingly obtuse, I felt like I was actually unearthing the mysteries of the Sith, rather than just following a map marker. I've enjoyed exploring the nooks and the crannies of these Star Wars locations, even if it took me much longer than it could have. Besides, upgrading Mara's force powers between levels is dependent on how many secret locations you found. The more you explore each level, the faster Mara's powers can grow. I was underwhelmed with Jedi Knight because I was so enamored with dark forces. Playing Mysteries of the Sith has allowed me to reevaluate this situation. Both Jedi Knight and Mysteries of the Sith suffer from the same flaws of games of this age. Hokey controls, shitty bosses, awkward graphics, but these games were necessary to get to where we are now. And actually, a lot of the design choices made in these games are absent in modern games, where the technology and the visuals has obviously been superseded. Some of the gameplay decisions made in these two is sorely lacking in modern games. Both Jedi Knight and Mysteries of the Sith get a solid thumbs up from me. If you like old PC games, then these are two must-play Star Wars PC games. As with all games on Second Wind, of course this is available to buy on GOG and Steam. Links are in the description. Stay tuned to the game show as my next review will be my favourite Star Wars game ever, Jedi Knight 2. Thanks for watching, and for more Star Wars gaming videos, please subscribe to the game show.
Perfect.